Aloha, good morning. Hello, hello. Okay. All right, you guys, welcome to July and welcome to week 1 of Aloha 24 July. This month we are back with painting in watercolor and ink, just like last month. But this month I wanted to focus a little more on the urban sketching aspect by choosing to paint a few storefronts and buildings. So last month it was more loose, I'd say, with the farmers market theme and drawing and painting flowers and fruits. And this month definitely we're gonna have more straight lines and more angles. Let me show you what we're gonna paint today. So this is a little shaved ice kiosk. It's actually one we have here in Kona downtown, and it really is that colorful. It is the spot of bright pink in an ocean of otherwise, more gray concrete. So it really stands out. It's very cute. They have both bubble tea and shaved ice. All right, I'm going to turn the camera around and we can get started. And you know the drill, it's going to be shaky, shaky. Okay, let's hope I won't lose my phone stand like I did last time when it came apart almost. Okay, as you can see, I have prepared a few different sketches, just using different lining tools. Okay, I'm still trying to rearrange my phone here. Let me unplug the cable. Okay, here we go. Almost there, almost there. Okay, hope that works. And I'm gonna plug the cable back in so that I have enough juice for the whole session. And I'm gonna set up my iPad so I can see the comments too. Hello, hello. Sylvie, Tracy, Amy, Mom. Okay. Oh, do we already have a question? Let's see. Ooh, shaved ice. Okay, Sylvie. So imagine you take a block of ice, so ein Rieseneiswürfel, and then you shave off little ice. It's almost like ice snow. So imagine you have this ice block and you take a knife and you and it's basically yeah, I mean you could crunch on some little ice cubes as well, but because the shavings are so fine, it really melts in your mouth super quickly. And then they add some kind of a sauce on top. Usually it's fruity, so you could have mango, for example, or something more milky like coconut. And I actually know this from Japan. So even before I moved to Hawaii, I was already familiar with shaved ice because it is a big thing in Japan. So in the summer, people would go out and buy shaved ice at the kiosks. And it just really, it's so refreshing, cools you down in a hot summer. Yeah, they call it shaved ice here in Hawaii. In Japan, they call it kori. I think Mom can can say if that's correct or not. Yeah. So are there other names for that in different parts of the U.S. maybe? Because definitely here in Hawaii, it's shaved ice. So either shave ice or shaved ice. Kakigori. Yeah, exactly. So Tracy says kakigori. Gori and kori are basically the same thing. So in Japan, that's what it's called. And they have matcha flavor also in Japan. And Well, now you get me started on food. So um, sometimes they even serve the shave ice with mochi. So these little rice balls, very dense. So you have the shave ice, and sometimes you have ice cream, and then sauce, and then those mochi balls. Well, and then it's like a whole dinner, you know. You start off with having maybe a little thing sweet on the side to being bombarded with something of this size. So, very fun. And we actually have a place here in Kona that serves portions like this. I'm not kidding. And then they hide the ice cream inside. It's it's a bit over the top. One Aloha shaved ice. And they usually run out by, I think, not kidding, lunchtime. They run out of ice. So you gotta be there early. Ooh, Tracy says to try sweetened condensed milk on matcha syrup. Oh my goodness, it's 8 a.m. here and I'm already craving shaved ice with matcha condensed syrup and condensed milk and ice cream and azuki beans. Yes, 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 you guys. Food, I know. We could just do a food session. We're all foodies here. Let's start with me showing you just what different outline tools can create, you know, different effects, or they can create different effects. So I did this one here with a colored pencil. That was my first sketch, so to speak. So I just sketched the outlines with a colored pencil. It looks much softer, I think, and smoother than compared to my brush pen down here. The contrast is much harder, I think. And then here I did this with a fountain pen. And it's the fountain pen with a bent or slanted nib. So you can create thinner and thicker lines in the same stroke. So I have to say, I personally really like this one with the colored pencil. It gives some kind of a vintage feel. And I just wanted to show you these examples today so you can choose if you maybe choose a different type of lining tool today. So I'm going to be using the fountain pen for these types of outlines, but you know, if you like the color pencil look or even more contrast with the brush pen, feel free and choose another outline tool for today's session. And then I made a version that's a bit more clean looking, even though honestly, for me personally, I like these, you know, more sketch style drawings and illustrations. But for the step-by-step tutorial, you know, when I painted it step by step, I automatically got to the point where it looked a bit more clean. It just happens because I paint one layer and then I scan it and then I paint the next layer and then I scan it. So it's really a different process where I have to slow down and then automatically it gets more clean. Whereas here, when I just have a few minutes and I scribble, it looks more wild, and I personally like this a lot. All right, but today I'm gonna be going more in this direction because I'm gonna do a step by step. And we're gonna look at the sketch first and then we'll color. So part one, sketch. Part two, we're gonna color everything. And I wanted to break down this shape first before we start with a sketch. So I'm just checking if I'm still in frame. Please let me know, as always, if everything's okay with the sound and if I'm close enough, or maybe if I should zoom in anytime. Okay, so basically what we have, and this is not the final sketch, yeah? This is just an idea of the shapes. So we have a triangle on top for the little roof, and a square, or more like a rectangle, I'd say, here at the bottom. And this is really just the basic, this is the basic outline. So super easy. And then you can place the oval, the ellipse, for the sign up here. And the window The vending window is pretty large in this case. It covers like almost half of the whole little house is in here. And this is it. This is the basic concept of the sketch. Once you understand these basic shapes, it's gonna be super easy to fill in the details. I think the most difficult part of this is probably the roof, because it uses this point here and then it spreads out like a fan. So what I did was I just painted in a wavy line like this, and I have my point up here, and then from this point I went down to my wavy line and connected the dot, so to speak. And this is pretty much the whole secret about the little roof. Okay, let me get a little closer maybe. Okay, so now that we understand the basic shape and outline of our sketch, let me talk about today's supplies. Put this to the side. So, okay, as I mentioned before, for the outline, I will be using my Sailor Fude de Mannen, which is this absolutely favorite fountain pen of mine with a bent nib. I think it's like a 40-degree angle approximately. And I love that you can just create thin and thick lines. It's almost like a brush pen. But instead of pressing down harder as you would do with a brush pen to create a thicker line, with this one you have to change the angle. So it is of course a bit different, but I'm just saying the effect of it is similar, thick and thin. And then I have a couple of brushes here, or a few brushes. So it's a number 2, 4, and 6. I don't think I need them all. I'm probably just gonna use the 6 for in the beginning for the bigger shapes, and then the number 2 to fill in the little tiny bits here. And paper-wise, as you can see, I tried out different sketchbooks. So for this type of illustration, honestly, I personally don't think that paper it's not that important, because even though we're doing a few layers, it's not that many. So it's, I think, just 2 layers on top of each other. So you can use a paper that's not cotton or partially cotton for that, and then it would be totally fine. So this is for example, does it still have a cover? Oh yeah. This is the Canson XL watercolor paper. So 0 cotton in this one. And this is the Alibabet. This is actually more of a drawing sketchbook. It's not even intended for watercolor. But yeah, it works. You just, you can't create really nice smooth blends because the paper starts to peel. And I have a Baohong paper today, hot press. It is cotton, but I mostly pull it out because I don't have that many different types of paper here, because mostly I have sketchbooks. So, and I wanted to do this on a flat piece of paper today. So that's why I'm choosing this one, even though it's cotton. But I just wanted to emphasize that I don't think that you need cotton paper for today's session. Up next, I have my watercolors. I have quite a few today, even though it's mostly pink. So I'm gonna use Ice Queen, which is has no name on it. Ice Queen, a pastel turquoise. Then the yellow one is Papaya, Indian yellow. The pink one here, the dark pink, is an opera pink. And then I have this pastel pink called Shell Ginger, and gray ochre. I'm not sure if that meant it right. Yeah. So manta ray, for all of you who've been wondering, because I use monk seal, which is also a gray ochre, and monk seal is more on the cool side, leaning towards blue, and manta ray is more on the warm side, leaning towards yellow. That's the only difference. Then I have raw sienna, Waimea. Night Dive is a mix of Prussian blue and different cobalt greens, so it's like a dark teal. And then I have Kupukupu, which is a very bright lime green. This one here. Okay, I put the swatches down here. I didn't swatch all the colors. I didn't swatch Waimea, and I didn't swatch Night Dive, the dark teal. I have a little palette today, ceramic palette, and I had a pencil somewhere. There it is. Okay, so let me just have a sip of tea in my favorite mug. Okay, any questions so far? Everything good? All right, so step one is a pencil sketch. Then I will trace my pencil sketch with my fountain pen. I have waterproof ink in this one. This is really important for today's session. Whatever outlining tool you use, it has to be waterproof. So make sure, if you're not sure, draw a few lines, let them dry, and try to go over them with water. And then, of course, you'll know right away if it's waterproof or not. Okay, step one, pencil. Step two, tracing with ink. Then we'll let it dry. We erase the pencil lines, and then we'll start coloring everything in. Okay, so let's start with a triangle on top. This is a bit too steep angle-wise. It's more of a, I don't know, do you say shallow angle? Not sure. Not steep. Okay, so triangle shape. Then a little rectangle on top. And then mark your center, maybe just with a little dotted line. I will zoom in a little bit, okay? Because even though I'm using a very soft pencil here, it might be a bit tricky for you to see otherwise. So mark the center line. In the center line down here, place your ellipse. The size of the ellipse is about 1/3 of your roof line. And then under your roof, you add 2 more lines. 1 and 2. Make the upper one a bit broader here than the lower one. Okay, I hope so far so good. And then from both sides, you can go in just a little bit like this. And now, of course, it depends how skinny or, how narrow or broad you want your kiosk to look like. So I'm going more for a skinnier shape. So it's more high and skinny, but you are, of course, free to choose a different type of shape. Actually, it didn't turn out that skinny. Let's see, let's make it maybe a little skinnier here, because I also want to place my trees left and right. So I need to make sure I'm leaving a little bit of space for that. For drawing straight lines, you can use, if you're using a pad like this, you can put your hand on the side and then follow the edge of the pad like that while you're holding your pencil. You can see that? It's like a guide. And then you can draw, or it's easier to draw straight lines. Just go down like that. I'm saying it's easier, but of course it takes quite a bit of practice. Just a little tip on the side. You can start practicing if you've never heard of that tip before, and you'll see after a while you can draw these lines like really quickly. Okay, so far so good. Are you guys struggling with the sketch? Or, I mean, I know that a few of you already have the sketch prepared, like Julia, for example. I saw her sketch yesterday. Okay, then in the center, we're gonna put our window. And then over here we have a little board with the menu. Okay, I don't want this to be the same line, so I think I'm gonna pull down my window even more so that the underside of the window is not on the same level with my board. Sylvie says she's struggling a little bit. Well, are you drawing with your left hand? I mean, then I think we all would be struggling. Sylvie hurt her dominant hand, and then I think she's drawing with her non-dominant hand, which is crazy. Okay, so on your outer lines here, I'm gonna erase the lines that I don't need because otherwise it's super confusing. So I'm gonna stick with the more narrow shape here. So this line here and this line. So cool. Okay, Sylvie is drawing with her non-dominant hand. I think this is probably the worst thing to draw when you have to draw with your non-dominant hand because you're doing lines, and that is, I think it is difficult even with your dominant hand, and then to do it with your left. It's like, I mean, I couldn't even, yeah, that's tricky. I'm not gonna demonstrate. It's not gonna end well. All right, do another parallel line here on this side. I'm erasing again because I want this to be a bit thicker here. So if you followed me for a while, you know that it's fairly unusual for me to do a sketch like this that is so detailed. But for this year of the monthly art challenge, I really wanted to test out different styles, different media combinations. And I guess in a way, even, you know, trying out sketching in a more detailed way and then sketching very loosely. Like last month, for example, I feel that it was a very loose, sketchy month. Like think of the peonies we did. Okay, so this is on the same height here. Same height-ish. And even though I do like the combination of watercolor and ink, I have to say this style is almost, it's not loose enough for me. I definitely prefer just to go in and scribble and paint. So setting up something like this, it feels a bit strange to me. But how is it for you? How do you guys feel about that? Is that something that comforts you when you have more exact lines and, you know, it's more realistic looking, so to speak? Or do you prefer to just go in wild? Okay, so this is the very basic pencil sketch. We still have a few details that are missing, like the roof, and then also some details here in the kiosk window. Okay, Sylvie's wild too. Very good. So for the roof, as I said before, we're gonna start at the center line here, and I marked this with these few little bits of pencil. And then down here, we're gonna add our wavy line. Now you could be super exact here, of course, and measure how many lines go on which side. But I don't want to be that exact, even though this is maybe a bit more refined than other sketches of mine. So this is the point, the point of origin, so to speak. It's slightly above that rectangle. Was that a bit too fast? Maybe that wasn't entirely clear. So the shape I'm basing my lines on is not this one. It's the triangle, which makes up the basic shape of this roof here. And the triangle point ends here, and this is where I start my line. So I continue down from this point and add it here to the point of my wavy line. It would look weird if you started from the point here. That wouldn't look right. So you gotta start from the point which was constituted by the basic triangle shape of the roof. And this is pretty much true for all the building shapes that you want to draw in the future. You always have to look for the basic underlying geometric shape, and then you can try and find your lines from that. So oftentimes the point, you know, I can't remember the word in English. I know it's Fluchtpunkt in German, but I don't remember the word in English. I'm sorry. If you know it, you can write it down in the comments, and then I'll repeat it, and then we have it here in the stream. But it's the point where you triangulate all the other points from. Vanishing point. Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Tracy, 100 points. Okay, so the vanishing point. So oftentimes when you draw buildings like these, the vanishing point is a bit outside of the building. So you have to find the point more in the distance. Also, just a matter of practice. You will, when you like this, if you like this type of drawing, you can definitely practice that. And after a while, you don't even have to think about it too much anymore. It'll come more automatically. I think in the beginning, it's really a bit more tricky and doesn't make a lot of sense, maybe even in the beginning. But as with everything, if it catches your interest and you practice more often, it'll come easier to you after a while. Okay, I just added a few more lines here, and then we have another sign up here. All right, I'm not gonna draw in every single little detail here. I'm just gonna switch to my fountain pen. And now you have a choice between tracing your lines very exactly, or at this point, you could also be a little more sketchy. Sketchy sounds sketchy, doesn't it? Drawing more freely. Totally up to you. Also, please feel free to turn the paper. It really is easier for your hand to draw when you change the angle to where it's most comfortable. I don't want to turn the paper too much here in the stream because it might be a bit confusing, but I'm just telling you, go ahead and turn your paper to whichever direction is most comfortable for you. let's do the lettering later. See, this is so interesting. I can already tell, or I can really feel that this is more fun for me because it's so loose and it's really not as exact as the initial drawing or illustration that I did. So I'm really utilizing the fact that this fountain pen has a bent nib and that I can create lines, both thick and thin, in one stroke. Let's add another line here. So what tools are you using today? Do you have a micron maybe, a fine liner, or are you using a fountain pen as well? I know that Amy, for example, loves fountain pens, and she probably has 356 inks to choose from. I know that because she brought me, I think, about 50 of them one time she came to visit. Naturally, I had to buy a few more fountain pens so I can, you know, use more of the inks at the same time. Ooh, Sylvie's using the, hold on, Pentel Artist Fountain Pen. Oh, do you mean the one I'm using here? Or is that, are you talking about the one that you're using? Because this is a Sailor, did I say Pentel before? If I did, I apologize. It's not a Pentel. This is a Sailor Fude de Mannen. So, and whichever pen Sylvie is talking about right now, I'm not sure which one that is. Yeah, I know both Pentel and Platinum. Platinum artwork pen. Never heard of it. I have only the Platinum, which one is that? It's like a $5 fountain pen, which I love so much. It literally is one of the fountain pen I think I use the most. The Preppy, I think in Japan it's like $2. I'm not kidding you guys. Here in the US it's $5. Oh wait, is that a Sailor too? No, that's the ink. Sorry if I'm rambling right now, but yeah, this is the Platinum Preppy. Very, very inexpensive fountain pen, but just, you know, makes a monoline. So no variation at all in the line. Yeah, such a nice one. Platinum also makes really, really good inks. Okay, let's look at our drawing. I think we have a few of the shaved ice cones that are still missing. Gonna draw these in really quick. You can add a straw if you like, or you could make a variation with the shape of the container that the ice comes in. So this particular kiosk also has bubble tea and probably 40 different flavors. Oh, by the way, is there a difference between boba tea, B-O-B-A, and bubble tea? I'm not sure. Or is that the same? And maybe just different countries call it a different name, possibly. Well, either way, I love them both. And then down here, it's just, you know, a few condiments and napkins and stuff. So don't even pay too much attention on being too exact on those shapes. Okay, Tracy says same, I think. In Japan, it's called tapioca. Oh, yeah? Huh. Yeah, I think in Germany they also say tapioca, which is the plant that it comes from. So these little bubbles or boba bubbles are derived from the root of a plant called tapioca. It's a bit similar to the Hawaiian taro. So they're like white little balls, and when you cook them or boil them, they become kind of mushy and squishy, a bit like mochi. So good. Okay guys, I need some more tea while this fountain pen ink dries. Okay. Oh, by the way, is there another soccer game today? Ist heute nochmal EM-Spiel oder nicht? I didn't even check. Aren't we at the, what is it? Achtelfinale? Quarter finals? Not quarter. I'm not even sure. Again, I'm not sure about the word in English. It's like, but it's like when it gets serious. So now the teams have played in the pre-rounds and now it's going to be more serious. Oh, Friday. Okay, so in 2 days. Good, good. Okay, so we have a little time today. Oh wait, I forgot the shaved ice. Let's add the shaved ice. So for the lettering, if you're not sure where to place the lettering, just do the pencil sketch first so you don't end up running out of space. You can write backwards starting from the center, and I can already tell that this is too big, so we're just gonna stop right here and erase everything and try this again. So I'm gonna move over my ice to the right and make it a bit smaller, and then the D, E, B, A, H, and S. And then when you go over your lettering with your fountain pen, you can rearrange the letters a little bit. To get the spacing right. Okay, so see, I moved the S over a little bit to the right because it was too close to the edge of the sign. Okay, in general, when you design letterings or even tiny little letterings like this, you can start designing from the center to the left and the right. I think it's easier to fill spaces, you know, spaces that are already there with lettering when you start from the center. Okay, I think we're done with the sketch. I will use my hairdryer a little bit to just make sure it's all really dry before I start erasing the pencil lines, because it's really annoying when it's not dry and you have smears of pen going across your paper. All right, be right back. Okay, should be dry now. Let's rearrange my desk a little bit. All right. Okay, next step, I'm gonna erase the pencil lines. I have a kneaded eraser here. You can just pretty much roll that over your illustration and it'll pick up the pencil lines really easily, and you don't have any debris left from the eraser. I mean, you can also really like rub the paper like a regular eraser. All right. Okay, here we go. Now for the coloring part, I usually try and go about this by looking at which colors are not adjacent to each other. So in this case, I would start with the teal part here and then, you know, do this one and then the window. And I wouldn't go right in with the pink because it's like really next to the teal color, to the pastel turquoise here. Instead, I would do the yellow of the sign because it's not really touching the pink. Sorry, the turquoise. So just in general, you always want to think about coloring in parts first that don't touch each other. So we're gonna start with Ice Queen, the light turquoise. I'm gonna just move this down a little bit. Rearrange the light here as well. Okay. Sorry, I have to move things around a little bit. It's getting a bit crowded here. Okay, so I'm grabbing my pastel turquoise. I'm gonna make a little puddle here in my palette that I can use to fill out all the spaces that I want in this color. So I'm not using this color 100%. I will dilute it a little bit with water, approximately like this. And then just coloring in the roof. And now is the moment of truth where you can test your ink and see whether it's waterproof or not. Okay, this one worked. Yay! And even in this step, seriously, you don't have to stay within the lines. If you want your sketch or your illustration to look a bit more spontaneous, you know, you can just go about this and really just very loosely draw everything in. I think this is really a matter of preference. So this challenge is also really there for you to find out what you prefer by testing out different styles, different media, different methods. I think, or I hope that this year you'll get to know your preferences better. So we have the light turquoise part down. I'm gonna grab a little bit of my Indian yellow. And again, I'm gonna dilute it a little bit with water. And then same thing again, if you want your colors to be more bright and less diluted, then just go in with the full force of the color. Okay, I'm switching to my tiny little brush. I'm still using the yellow and just adding some yellow to a few of the shaved ice cones here. The other thing we can do is paint in the shadow here at the bottom, because again, it's not touching any other parts that we have already painted. Switching back to my number 6 round brush. And then this is my gray ochre manta ray. And for the shadow, you can really start with a very diluted version of this gray ochre. If you don't have gray ochre, of course you can use black, just dilute it even more. And to match the style of my more loose illustration today, I'm gonna do the shadow more loose as well. So over here you can see in my original illustration the shadow is more defined, or has straighter lines. I'm not gonna do this today, I'm just very loosely blobbing in the shadow. All right, so let's look at the illustration. I think we painted everything that we can without having the colors touch each other. Switching back to my number 2. And for these little tiny ones here, the little tiny shaved ice cones, I pick up some of my opera pink and just fill these in here. You guys are so quiet. Hope you're all right. Everybody's focused, concentrated on getting the colors right. All right. So I have to go and use the hairdryer one more time. And I'll be right back. Oh my goodness, what are you doing? James just brought me his phone and he photographed it. Oh gosh, now I have to show them.
You can send it.
No, I have to, well,
Okay,
if you, yeah. Okay, get ready for a really weird photo, you guys. So this is our hot tub, and this fluffy cloud, it's all shave ice. I'm just kidding. This is James, I think he's trying to clean the hot tub and maybe it got a bit out of hand. Well, you guys, this is my life here. Good job. You need your phone back?
Yeah, that's good. Look there.
Oh, brilliant photo. I wish I could go see it. But there are still a few layers we're painting here. No hot tub for me. Okay, and Mom is asking, dear Keiko-chan, she has a question. In November, oh yes, so my mom wants to come visit me in Hawaii in November this year, and now she's asking if the Hawaiian shaved ice kiosk will be open. Yes, it's open all year round, because as you guys know, I live in constant summer and everything is open around the clock, around the year. I think so, at least. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Even though it's a bit cooler in the winter, a few degrees, it's still warm enough for shave ice. Okay, next color is the pastel pink, the shell ginger, and because this is a very, very opaque color, I will use quite a bit of water to dilute it. I do have my size 6 round brush again. But really, also, depending on how large your illustration is or how tiny, of course, you might be using a different size brush. If you have a very small illustration, your brush size should be smaller, of course. And if you're going really large, then you'll use a bigger brush. I'm not even sure if I should say things like that. It's almost like, Keiko, we're not stupid. But, you know, I'm like, oh, let's just mention it. Just, you know, just in case. I remember I did this tutorial once about galaxies, how to paint galaxies and how to make the stars. And I said something like, with a large brush, you'll have big splatters. And with a tiny brush, you'll have tiny splatters. And I remember James said something like, man, Keiko, your followers are not stupid. They know. I was like, you're right. Maybe I'm talking too much. Okay, just fill in the general shape of this little kiosk with your light pink. But hey, you guys, I am always, always, always open for any type of feedback, critique. Seriously, it's really helping me. If you have, you know, even if you don't like something, just tell me, because this is the only way I can change things, make them better. Think about it. I might not even be aware of certain things. So being told, you know, hey, I really struggled at this point and you didn't explain it, or you over explained, or whatever, you know, it's gonna be helping me too, so I can make these tutorials better in the future. Okay, everything's pink now. I will swap my brushes and grab my number 2 and a little bit of the lime green. That's a more transparent color, so I'm not gonna have to dilute it as much as the pastel pink. Okay, so for the little green things, okay, let's do this one cone here and then our containers. So remember, we just did everything pink, so I want to make sure I'm not painting in anything that's touching the pink. Just checking to see how wet this pink part is here. I think I can get away with painting the rim of the sign without touching the pink. More photos? What? You put the cat in there? Oh my gosh. I can't handle these jokes. You guys have to put up with something like that too. I'm telling you. All right. Oh, see, I'm loving this so much better. I love that it's wonky lines, it's very loose. It feels so much more me than this very, very neat illustration over here. Megan says, tell James I'm that need to know girl. I had just started painting. Yay! And don't you think, you guys, I mean, even if I tell you things again and again, then you can just not listen to that and just take the parts that you need to know. Right? Okay, but still, I mean, seriously, any feedback of any kind is so, so appreciated. So always feel free to write to me. I'm thick-skinned, so I don't take things personally, or, you know, I don't get offended or this kind of stuff when it's about painting. Other things, yeah, but not when it comes to my method of teaching or painting or anything. You can just... You have more photos?
Because it's a giant shave ice machine.
You're crazy. It's never been like this. What are you doing out there? No, I have to show them. I can't just not show
That's a
them.
30-second video.
Oh my. Oh, it's a video?
Yeah, there's a quick one.
Where is it?
Because it's going around and around.
I'm not sure this is a video. Is it a video? Oh.
I send it to your phone.
So you're basically creating your own shave ice machine out there.
Yeah. It's faux shave ice.
Oh my gosh.
It's hilarious.
You know, I'm glad that the soap you're using is biologically degradable. Yeah. Because otherwise this would be a disaster. Oh my gosh. Yeah, tell James to clean the hot tub and this happens. Story of my life. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Yes, but you know what? The good thing is everything's dry now, so I don't have to use the hair dryer, and we can start filling out the other parts of this illustration. Okay, lime green. Water it down a lot. We want really just a very light wash of this green for the background here of this sign. To make sure that you're not smearing the paints into each other, just, you know, you can just leave a little bit of a white space around your shaved ice cones, just to make sure that you're not inadvertently rubbing the colors into each other and then you have a big brown puddle because you mixed all the colors. So you can just dab in the paint like that. Now again, if you have a more neat illustration, like here, you know, I actually did go to the trouble and like painting in the green a bit more exactly. But if you're more loosely drawing today, then it's totally fine to just dab in the color like that. Okay, let's add some of the opera pink. Now, the opera pink in general, not just Aloha watercolor, but even, you know, opera pink from other manufacturers is very, very strong and tinting color. Because most of the opera pinks on the market contain a dye. So it's not just pigment based, but also dye based. So super, super, super strong color. Stronger than a phthalo. So the phthalo blues, greens are also very, very tinting strong colors. But opera pink takes the, how do you say? Takes the cake? I don't know. I take the cake for sure if it's there. Okay, very light wash. Let's see. Just make a little swatch here. Yeah, that's good. Okay, before I start with the shadows, I'm just gonna paint in the rest of the building details that are still white. Okay, so I have these two columns here, left and right, and in the center, I'm adding some of the pink, and then here on the windowsill, adding some pink. And let's paint in this one as well. So now it's kind of framing the window. And next we're gonna start with the shadows. And for the shadows, I am mixing some of my opera pink into my shell ginger. So opera pink into the pastel pink that I have there from my previous layer. So I'm doing this so that my shadows aren't that strong, but if you want more contrast in your shadows, feel free to use the opera pink straight without mixing it with the lighter color. And here, right underneath the wavy line, follow the wavy line. And then everything that's pink gets a little pink shadow. And for the turquoise parts, I'm gonna mix a little bit of a different shade. So in all the spots that you have a line, you can add a little pink shadow underneath, but only in the pink parts of your building. So underneath all the columns, underneath every part of the column. So every little bit, even here. And down here. Let's see where else here. I'm not sure how well the photos show up on the reference photos I took. I think it was a bit cloudy that day. But in general, because the light is coming more from the top, the shadows are gonna be pretty even underneath everything. You know, if it came like from the right hand side, if the light came from the right hand side, you would put the shadows more on the left side of everything, and vice versa. Okay, I think that's it for the pink shadows. I have one more here underneath the sign. I just realized I forgot to add the green color to my open sign, so I'll do that. Making sure I don't touch the pink color here that I just added. Okay. Now I want to add some shadows to the roof as well. And for that, I mean, you can also use the same shade of pink that I used for the rest of the building. But I'm just gonna mix a little bit of the light turquoise with this color, Night Dive, a dark teal, switching to my number 2 brush again, picking up some of this mixed paint, and then just adding it to the roof. So strictly speaking, because the light is hitting from the top, it's not that there are too many shadows in the roof. So it's more like emphasizing the lines that I drew here. So I'm adding a very light, very, very light shadow here directly alongside my ink lines. Because strictly speaking, if you if you draw the shadow in like that, it would mean that the light comes more from the left hand side. So don't make the lines too broad, just keep them kind of narrow. Really just, it's more about emphasizing your ink line is what I'm saying. Okay, we can add a little more up here though, because this rectangle here on top, that definitely casts a little shadow. And because we have a line that is not straight, because you know the roof goes up and down like this in a wavy line, you can follow the shape of this wavy line. I hope that's clear. So instead of just drawing a straight line across, you kind of think of the line as being wavy, kind of like the same shape as you drew down here. Okay, I hope this makes sense. And then just one more little shadow in this color. Let's make it a bit stronger. Is here on this teal part. Oops, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, I just looked over to the chat and there is a question. Okay, do you have a shop in Hawaii? It would be fun to get some of your beautiful colors while there. I unfortunately right now don't sell anywhere physical, like in a brick and mortar store. I just sell my paints online, right from my studio here. But I'm happy to ship you the paints. So I've done this quite often actually, especially when people come to the islands and they don't come to the big island, but to one of the other islands like Maui, for example. And because it only takes one day, so let's say I ship it on a Monday, then you'll have the package on Tuesday. So happy to do that. Okay, you guys, we have the shadows. What I want to do here is just dilute and blend the shadows a little bit. And because opera pink and my opera pink too contains a little bit of dye, has very, very strong tinting properties, it doesn't really blend that well, which means I have to go back in with my pastel pink. And kind of do the blending the other way around. So I'm pretty much painting over my opera pink here. But this is only if you want to smoothen out some harsh lines that you might have after painting in the shadows, which is actually fine. I mean, in a lot of cases, when you have strong sunlight, you will have shadows that are very defined and harsh. So it's not that it doesn't happen in real life, it's just maybe you don't like the harshness of these lines so much. Then you can go back in with a moist brush and just blend your colors together a little bit. Okay, and I think because I made this part darker, I'm gonna add a little bit more paint down here at the bottom. I have a little ant that fell on my palette. Let's move it. Let's move you. Okay, very good. Kind of like this darker shade of pink. Yeah, I think the contrast between the slightly darker shade of pink and the light teal is really nice. I think this looks more like a window now because it's more of a contrast. Okay, so Honey Chai, that's a cute name too, says they're coming to the Big Island. Oh, in that case, you know what I also sometimes do is you can order in my store, but then I can meet you, for example, in the post office or at the post office in Kona. And then we can just do the in-person, how do you say, swap of the goodies. That is also no problem at all, because I usually go to the post office once a day anyways, and I'm always happy to bring along an order in person for pickup. Okay, so at this point we're done with the illustration, but when I did this the first time I thought it's a bit, you know, it's a bit empty looking, so that's why I added a background a little bit and some of the trees. So for the background, you can reactivate your Indian yellow puddle and just add some blobs of yellow here on the sides. Then I grab some of my light turquoise. Again, you want to dilute this a lot because it's just a background color. Just very loosely add this to your background. Also make sure you don't paint the whole background. Really just very swiftly go over the background like this with a few strokes. It's gonna be enough. I think I still have some yellow in my brush because the background color definitely turned out to be a bit greenish. Let me rinse my brush a little better. Okay, and before I paint in the trees, I need to dry this layer, of course. So one last time of hair drying, so well, paper drying. I'll be right back. Let's see. It's still a little wet. You see the sheen up here? That should be fine. I'm not gonna put the tree up too high. Okay, so I would usually use a really large brush for this part. Sorry I didn't mention that in the beginning, but I will use a number 10 quill brush for this, because pretty much what those trees are, just a few dabs with the large brush. Picking up some of my lime green color. Okay, and now you just go in and really very quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. And on the other side, and you build your trees a little bit around your kiosk. So start here, go in, fill in that space. I know this was super fast, but this is really how you can get the best loose shapes for something that is not supposed to be the first thing you look at. So you want to keep it really loose. So that is going to be a really nice contrast to your more detailed kiosk. I picked up some of my Night Dive dark teal, and I'm just gonna drop this in to the still wet paint. more on the lower side. So at the bottom. If you think of those trees of having different parts, top part, middle part, bottom part, you wanna add your darker color to the bottom parts or to the bottom halves of the different parts of the tree. So here, here, and here. If your green turned out a bit too light, as I think it did in my case, you can grab some more paint, dilute it, and then just go in one more time. Or you could also add maybe a few little blobs in between. All right, and then with the tip of your brush, here in the center, drag the paint down. And if you have a large brush like that, you have to hold it upright so you can utilize the tip of the brush. If that gives you a really hard time, just change back to a smaller brush that you can handle better. And then you can just easily make these lines. You don't have to hold the brush like this, you can hold it just almost like a regular pencil. And again, pick up some of your darker green. Let me rinse that brush a little bit so I don't get too much of the lime green into my dark pan here. Okay, just dab in some more of the dark green here at the bottom of your tree. And again on this side here. So the reason why I'm doing this is just like we did here where we painted the underside of everything to indicate a shadow, I'm also trying to have the same effect here with my tree. Not as pronounced because really this is just a little side scene here. It's really not as important as our center illustration, but I still want to apply the same rules of shadow and light, even if it's in a very loose manner. Okay, I'm rinsing my brush again, and now I'm coming in with my raw sienna color, Waimea. And I'm adding this to the palette where I already have my green puddle. And this way you will have a more cohesive color, which already has a bit of green in it. So it'll go really well with your trees. Then you just dot, dot, dot in the paint on both sides to blend it with the green. Then you can just very loosely add some circles, indicating that it's some kind of a pot or a container holding these trees. Just really keep it super loose because again, we don't want too much attention on the trees. Okay, I'm rinsing my brush and I'm putting this to the side, picking up my number 6 again. And the only thing, like a last step that I want to do is to work a little bit on my shadow here, because right now you can see the shadow is the same top to bottom, but because we put a shadow on every underside of everything, it should be a bit darker here as well, and then fading out. So I'm taking a tiny bit of my pink, mixing it with the gray ochre. I'm rinsing my brush and contains a lot of water now, and I'm just painting over my shadow just with water, just plain water. So I'm basically adding another layer just with water. And now I'm dropping in this pinkish gray mix and dragging it down like that. So it's a bit too light. So I'm just taking the paint straight from the pan, dabbing my brush like that, and then just quickly moving it down. Maybe a little bit of pink. All right. So I'm not sure how well you can see that it's a little bit pink down there. Just a tiny bit of pink, so it's almost like a reflection, not a shadow. All right. This is our illustration for today. I hope it wasn't too difficult. I hope you had a good time and enjoyed painting along, or if you're watching this later, you know, hot tub and all. We got a bit distracted here and there. But yeah, this is the nature of live streams, isn't it? Something's always happening. I have dogs coming over, or people bringing fish, or you know, James bringing funny photos and videos. So my dears, I hope you enjoyed this session today. If you did, I would love for you to leave a comment down below. That would be great, even if it's just a little emoji. I would be very happy about that. Next week, I won't have a live stream. I will, however, upload a new video on Sunday. As I told you before, I'm trying to do this every Sunday now. And the next live stream I'm planning for Monday, 15th of July. For week 3. That's gonna be a surfboard shop. So I'll see you then. And until then, keep well, stay safe, happy painting, and aloha. Bye.